Yet another Sunday evening, yet another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. We're going to get into it here. Episode 38 coming up right now. War Eagle Auburn Family and War Eagle E2C Network family. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Auburn Experience podcast, the live recording where you get to interact with us a little bit before, a little bit after, watch the shenanigans that happen amongst the show. Because guess what? This is live. If it's edited out, I mean, I can't edit it out, but everyone knows about it. So it'll be on there once we start the show here in just about 5 minutes. I'm back, your host, Kyle, with my co-host, Austin. Welcome back in the saddle, buddy.
Well, thank you. War Eagle to you. War Eagle to our viewers, listeners. And yeah, quite a weekend on the plains. I know you spent some time down here as well. So plenty to unpack, that's for sure.
And that's the great thing about having such a big event on campus. We're going to definitely spend one of our main segments talking about that, experiences that we had, just the nature of how everything ended and anything around that, really. And then we're going to talk some SEC football schedules and how it affects Auburn. I know those are probably the two most important topics on people's minds. And let's be honest, Austin, that's some of the last little runs of information here that we're going to get because we're about to enter summer fully.
Oh, yeah. We're about to have our work cut out for us on topics to go through the summer. But it always goes by so quick that, we talk about how football goes by so fast and just enjoy it. Yeah, every athletic and academic year goes by so quick, and it's not over. I know, Kyle. I know you are fully aware, and as you posted today, the track and field season is not over. So the Auburn Athletics year for 2022 to 2023 is not have a bow on it totally.
Yeah.
But it is coming quick. We'll be done in this time next week, so it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, barring just an eventful news week, I anticipate us doing kind of a recap of the athletic year next episode. But we're going to officially wait for our last, group of individuals to be done, and that's the track and field team. So I will not ever let them get forgotten, mainly because my wife runs the track and field show. So,
well, that's an important piece to remember.
Yes. All right, most of you know the drill. As you get on here, please do check in, whether you're live, whether you're on the replay, post where you're watching from. Smash the like button as you get started. It does help the show out. And if you've got some comments or questions that you'd like us to hit the last few minutes we have here before we start recording, you can do that. This is your best time to talk to Austin directly. So post those now. Devin says, thank goodness for the show. There are endless reasons to love Auburn, even when sports don't go our way. Thank y'all for the work you do. Appreciate your appreciation.
Thank you.
Of what we try to provide here. I find that when I have a wide variety of things to be excited about that are related to Auburn and not just the big three, it makes the sting when the big three lets you down a little bit less. Not great. Like I'm still sitting here like, wow, that was awful. Like the results of this weekend, the overall results, and football and everything that happened with basketball. But for me, this is still, there are a lot of pluses for this year. That's just at least how I choose to look at it. But you guys can look at it any way you want to do so. We got Chris and Russell checking in. Thanks so much, guys. I don't know if we'll bring it up in the first part of the segment, but I don't know if you saw, we just got another commitment. So Trevon Reed says, we ain't done yet. In case you were wondering about that. I feel like I've posted that or tweeted that at him like too many times now. And I know everybody else is doing it. So I'm like not the one annoying guy.
He brought it upon himself at this point. So
I truly don't feel bad about it because he did bring it upon himself. But I think he probably secretly loves it too, that he's created this monster. Does he have a t-shirt yet? Are we done yet? Like,
he needs one if he hasn't.
I need that. So I need that now. I might like buy that the instant. I might be the first person to actually get that. Let's see. I know this is an Auburn show, but how about them Braves go ahead and grand slam to win it? I didn't actually watch, even though this one time it was on TV today for me. I didn't watch it because I was busy with other things. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Brave. There used to be a Braves poster right here. It's getting yeah, I'll pull the curtain back for everybody. I know I'm bouncing around different topics here. What you see behind me now might be changing soon. soon.
Oh.
As it happens throughout the summer, I typically go through a lot of different changes in the summer, whether that be content, look of things. So you just never know.
Pulling my curtain back, what you don't see is this room right here I'm in, this half is the Auburn half, and the other half is a Braves half. So
There you go.
when I do my Brave show with the other Kyle that I'm friends with on other Sunday nights, I go on that half.
Believe it or not, I do have another wall over here with some other stuff, but you know about all those things. So that's
I do.
literally, folks, this is what happens. Kyle literally shifts around this way with the table. And then if I actually could have like a circular thing that could just turn me around to the different walls,
That'd be awesome.
that would be amazing. Literally. Don't put it past me. That may be coming up very soon. All right. Looks like we got some familiar faces, maybe some new faces checking in too. So thank you guys so much. Those of you that know the drill, help us out in the chat. But as a reminder, we're about to move into recording here. We're not going to be interacting with the chat a lot. I will be staying after. We're going to do about a 30-minute show with roughly 3 10-minute-ish segments. And we will definitely hit on a variety of topics, but want to hear from you at the end of the show too. So with that being said, Mr. Scott, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. David Housel said it best: the whole of the Auburn experience. It is what we live and breathe every single day in this experience, but it is all about our sports. It is all about our culture, and it is all about our family. And because the Auburn experience is all about family, I got to have an Auburn family member with me back again on episode 38, the best co-host in the land, Mr. Austin Scott. What's going on?
Oh, you too, Kyle. War Eagle to you, and happy another weekend of coming to a close. Another big Auburn weekend, whether it be, checking out things that are going on or physically on the plains, big Auburn weekend. And plenty to talk about for our episode 38. The elder of the Carlson brothers, I wouldn't say more successful one. Well, he's more successful in his occupation now, and he's proven himself. Anders is going to get that chance. But
time frame wise, yeah,
that's right. So it's just older brother perks. But Daniel Carlson, episode number 38. So this is going to be a good one.
Of course,
record breaking.
It's going to be a Legatron 5000 or 6000. I kept moving up the 1000, 2000 every time he got better and better. So I forget where we ended up at by the time, but every time we would call him out, it'd be like Legatron 6000 or something like that. I don't know. I miss having a Carlson on the. Well, we had Parker Carlson on baseball with this past season, so I guess we were still. And Anders was here this past season too. But it's just gonna fit. Sometimes you have these, I guess, family members, but just groups of people that it just feels weird if they're not physically a part of a program, the university anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I mean it's been. Let's see, Daniel started in 2014, so it's been almost 10 years that a Carlson brother has been, and then they had that one overlap year, redshirt year for Anders and Daniel's 5th year, I guess. But it's weird. It's going to be really weird this year to see. I think Evan McPherson will be the kicker, which is even weirder because he's like 5'8", and the Carlson brothers are tall boys.
Let me just say this. So, look, everybody knows this. Kickers aren't known for being the most physically impressive people out there. I can say that without, feeling bad about saying it, because I was one of them in high school. And you can just look at me right now and say, yeah, you clearly look like a kicker. And I take no offense to that. I don't think any kickers take offense to that. At A-Day this past year, I remember Evan coming out and just being like, or excuse me, Alex, Evans' brother. I do this all the time. I am so sorry, Alex.
I'll take that one because I did it first.
Yes. And see, I think that's why I did it. So you are actually going to take fully blame on that when he gets mad. But Alex, when he came out, I just said, what's the little 5-year-old doing out there? Just kidding. Just kidding. I would look no more intimidating out there. We're happy to have it. As long as you make field goals, I don't care how tall, how short, how whatever you are, just put the ball through the uprights is all I got to say, because Lord knows the last couple of years, all we could do was rely on our field goal kickers.
truth. This has been a very fitting start to our Daniel Carlson episode, talking a lot about kickers. So I hope we've made them proud.
Well, we have a great history of those, and what we need to do, we always talk about this. We're about to be in summer. It's a great segue into these type of topics. Anyway, we're going to need some like just interest piece to talk about. Well, there's not a lot of news to generate. We're about to hit that, but we could definitely do like a top whatever kickers or talk about the last so many histories of kickers and stuff like that. But using that to segue over, the calendar year for athletics is not done, folks. I just want to remind you, this is my PSA, annoying PSA as I always do. Most everybody is shutting it down, saying, hey, look, it's over. We're already writing our articles. It wasn't that great of a year. Folks, track and field is still in the hunt, not technically for a national title because they don't think they have enough people they're representing to get that type of score they need to be a national championship team. But we could be bringing home some medals at NCAA championships this week. So can I just give me the one segment here just to talk about that for just half a second? I think that's fair, right?
That's plenty fair, and it's the truth. We're not done. Those are important people of the Auburn family, of the Auburn athletics community. So they work very hard, and so this is their week to kind of put it all together. And there's plenty there that will be representing Auburn, so they deserve our support.
And quick shout out, I'll give one here on the show. He actually has his own YouTube channel, Dontavius Hill, one of our high jumpers. He was at Foosackly's this weekend where I and Clint and his wife Autumn went to dinner after a baseball game, which we'll talk about here shortly, and saw him there. And if he had not been busy with others, I would have, said something to him. But give him a shout out that he's out there amongst the people hanging out and stuff, getting some fueling up on Foosackly's before he jumps really high.
So Foosackly's was your chicken tender of choice this weekend?
It was not my choice. It's not my choice. That's all
that's gonna be a summer topic too.
Listen. Don't.
Very interesting, Kyle.
Listen. I think I gave the choice to Autumn and Clint, and I think they purposely chose that because they know what that topic means to me. Anyway, that's for another day there. We'll get into some of that. I do want to address this because we don't often get to talk about these right after they happen. So this is a little bit like breaking news time-wise. A commitment just happened. Another addition to the 2023 class, Trevon Reed. Are we done yet? Clearly not. A defensive back, JUCO, Tyler Junior College, I believe. There's some debate about whether I think somebody did not meet eligibility requirements, which has opened up that spot. I don't know that for a fact, so I'm not going to definitively say that. But are you shocked that we're taking yet another person in the 2023 class?
No, look, I mean, recruiting goes all year round, 24/7, 365 these days, right? So, you got to adapt. And if it's true, like you said, maybe somebody didn't quite meet the grades they needed to, or, if those things come and can be very flexible this time of year. You got to fill spots where you got spots if you want to get better. And so the staff sounds like they did that. And, I'm never opposed to some JUCO guys with experience on a lower level, and just ready to take that next step up. So looks like a good addition to this secondary.
Yeah, and I think it's one that I think a lot of people are surprised that we're taking. And if you're on message boards and stuff like that, you'll probably understand why, just the numbers game and things like that. But it's been interesting to see this class take shape. And I'm even more intrigued to see what it's going to do for this season. A lot of people are getting their hopes up based off just the pure speculation game of winning in the recruiting trail. And that's a big part of it. But you got to be coached up and you got to go out there and get the results. Just look at Texas A&M last year. Had every asset known to man, 5 stars galore, and they couldn't beat us. They could not beat one of the worst coached Auburn teams in quite some time. And that was, I'm not saying that about Cadillac because that was his game actually, but what Cadillac had to kind of squeeze out of what was the program last year was pretty tough. We're going to get into our big segments here in a second, but I want to kind of use this to start off here. We will be talking about baseball and the Auburn Regional specifically. I got to watch from the parking deck, and boy, did I have a great time up there. You actually got to go watch at least one Auburn game, right? Or did you get to both of them?
I did not. I didn't get to watch either Auburn game in the stadium.
That's right, because you came for the first game, and because
We
you were
yes, we took the boys, as we have discussed on this show. My cousin plays for Samford, and we got
which jersey did you wear?
in the Samford versus Southern Miss game round one. I did wear my Auburn T-shirt, but I had a baby on top of me, so no one could really see that. And I wore my Samford hat,
and the
and they
show is
won
now
that
done.
game. Samford never got to play Auburn, unfortunately, so we never got to have that conversation on the show this week.
That would have been fun.
Which would have been fun because it would have meant Auburn won a game. But I got to go inside and just be, a part of the regional, like I think we were getting to, and just it's always, I mean, it's so fun. I got to do that last year some for Auburn games and non-Auburn games, and Plainsman Park, it's getting upgrades, and people always have said it's kind of falling behind. Plainsman Park is a beautiful place for college baseball, and it always does a really great job, especially regionals, but just hosting teams. And it was no different this week. Just beautiful weather, perfect game, perfect atmospheres for baseball, and heard a lot of different fans say that as well from other teams. So it was just awesome. I love college baseball. I love getting to just watch baseball. And in a place like Plainsman Park, we're truly blessed as Auburn fans to have a stadium like it.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you got to see that the true perspective of being at the regional game, being even if it wasn't for the Auburn game, just sitting there. I was not blessed with that opportunity, but the parking deck is quite a view if you get the right area, and I had to fight and claw for that. But I have a lot of people I should give shout outs to, some fellow fans that I met up there. I'm just not going to have all their names at the top of my head. So you know who you are if you're watching or listening. And thank you so much for allowing me to hang out with you guys not all weekend, but for the 2 days that it was relevant to be there as an Auburn fan. I am so happy that we were historic in having back-to-back hosting regionals. And hopefully we can keep this streak going, because it wasn't supposed to happen this year. But I want us to dive into that a little bit more detail in our next segment. Auburn baseball was not supposed to do this year, Austin. They were, I think, 7th in the West, dead last is what the predictions were. I think 12th overall. This is probably just one article, but you get the gist, right? Auburn baseball was not supposed to be anywhere near postseason play on most people's standards, because this was a rebuilding year, everything they lost in the draft, transfers, whatever. Right? That was the expectation.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so here we sit. Auburn just hosted for 2 years in a row, which is historic. It's never been done before. And also posted attendance records as a whole throughout the season, again, for a second year in a row. So even on a year, let me mind you, where no expectations and kind of got off to a rough start in SEC play, really found their stride, and have had a less than ideal end to the postseason play, including the SEC tournament. All things considered, if you had told me we'd be sitting here talking about this complete story now for Auburn baseball, I would have just laughed at you because of some of the things that were and weren't going on and what wasn't working for Auburn baseball. So we're kind of using this segment to put everything in totality. When I look at the whole sum of Auburn baseball for 2023, I'm fairly pleased, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I don't see why you shouldn't be. A lot of debate on should Auburn have been the one to host a regional, and were their numbers up there with everybody else's, and then using their 0-2 exit as a justification that they shouldn't is kind of silly. But to see this team, like you said, historically, which Auburn has had great teams in the past, teams that have made it to the College World Series, before Butch Thompson, teams that have made it in Butch Thompson's tenure, and he's been here 8 years, but to host a regional back-to-back for the first time in program history is, like you said, historic. And so I do consider it a successful year, because going into the NCAA tournament, you're a top 15 team in the country. And that's by someone else's metrics. I don't care who's on the chair of the committee or not. That's what other people have decided. And so, yes, is it really, really unfortunate? Maybe Auburn peaked too early. Maybe Auburn just fell flat at the wrong time. Yes, It's very unfortunate. It is very sad that it fell that way. But, like we've talked about many times before, and things that just don't make sense sometimes, that is sports. And that is why it's really fun to watch and really fun to uh, be a part of and follow and get invested in, because you never know what's going to happen. And unfortunately, Auburn kind of reverted back to maybe the early season in the regional this weekend and just could not find enough hitting and pitching and putting them together at the right time. But in, like as you mentioned, in totality, an incredible year with another string of incredible memories for us to remember, with some great seniors and some great players who will be putting on the jersey, who've already put on the jersey for their last time. You think about guys that Auburn fans have just come to absolutely adore, in Case and Howell, Bryson Ware, and Cole Foster, and these guys that will now be done. And so it's exciting to be able to follow those guys. We talk all this time about how great Auburn fans are about following players in their next ventures. But those guys will not be coming back to Auburn, but we have memories of them that will definitely serve us for a while. So in totality, a great year. And just because it fell flat at the end of the year and didn't turn out the way we wanted, it doesn't make Auburn a laughing stock. It doesn't make Auburn this of course Auburn would do this. 4 regional hosts have been eliminated at the time of this recording, and probably more are on the way.
Yeah.
It's just sports in college baseball. I hate how much we get invested in this wild ride that, Auburn, of course, Auburn, Java, all this dumb. I hate Java, Kyle. I'm so tired of the way Java is used to describe Auburn, because it's not
lazy.
true.
It's
lazy. It's very lazy, and it's been around for decades. That it just doesn't make sense, and people want to use it for whatever they want to use it. Here I go. You can take it away.
I can feel you just ramping up throughout that. I was going to let you go as long as you wanted to. Bringing it back to what we were talking about, though, with this team and just this whole idea of them even making it here based on how things were going. You brought up the topic of people saying Auburn didn't deserve to have a regional, and then trying to use, just because they were one of the first ones out as a host, as justification for it. Well, you laid it out right there. There are 4 at this moment, and many more,
at least
a few more on the way potentially. It is a very competitive field this year, and I think I know on either Wednesday night show or something, you and I didn't get to talk about the opponents on last week's episode, but we talked about being a 13, likely a lower seed.
Yeah.
We were going to be able to have some tougher teams here. Stanford is that way. Penn is clearly that way. They are as of the recording of this podcast on Sunday evening, they are in the driver's seat to win let me say that again, folks. The lowest seed in the Auburn Regional is in the driver's seat to win the whole thing. Let that sink in for a second.
Yeah.
That's how crazy this. So that's not an Auburn thing. Of course, Auburn would do that. That is simply that is sports, the competitiveness of this regional, the competitiveness of this tournament thus far. And that's, frankly, I'm happy. I'm not happy that
absolutely
suffered, but I'm happy for the competitive nature of which we're
seeing. Shouldn't we all want that? Shouldn't we all love in March the Cinderella stories? Should we not want, which we all hoped NIL would kind of help this, should we not want the parity to be just even across the board? Penn is Penn has one of the best pitching staffs I've ever seen. Not ever. That was a little too much. Penn has one of the best.
Let's settle down now. All right, listen.
Of the year that Auburn's seen, you kept thinking you're going to get out of their starters, and they just kept coming. But we've seen 4 seeds, like Ryder is another one. Who the heck is Ryder? And they're playing in the Virginia regional, or maybe one of the East Coast regionals, and they're in the same boat. And so, the underdog story of these teams is something we should all enjoy and not just single out Auburn for, because that's not accurate, and it's just dumb.
Yeah, it is very dumb. I will tell you this, just kind of talking about wrapping up the whole Auburn regional, and obviously right now our recording, it's not finished yet, but the Auburn part of it, fans showed out in a big way. Not just Auburn fans. Southern Miss fans traveled really well. So a few a little too rowdy from my vantage point from where I was looking. I think they could have understood a little bit more where you are.
That's
that
true.
type of thing. Penn had a nice little section up there that was pretty loud when they had an opportunity to be, and they've had a lot of those opportunities.
That's
And
right.
Sanford, you knew was going to have some fans there because it's just down the road. I mean, obviously, and they're a decent baseball team, so that you knew there was going to be some support there. So that doesn't shock me. I guess it shouldn't shock me because I think maybe it's happened one time previously. But yesterday, the Saturday game, the elimination game, the inflatable pool was posted up out there in the outfield, clear fence section where people sit back and watch the game. Did you see that?
I saw E2C Network's post of it, and I never saw anybody in it or anything like that. But that's quite entertaining, and a good. I guess that's how you got to start the 2 p.m. elimination game is figure out how to do something unique out there.
My first reaction was like, what? Like, just when you're walking by, but then I was like, I kind of love it. Let's make this a thing. Let's make this like, if an Auburn player hits one into the pool,
oh man,
like there's something happens. Can we just like have that happen from now on?
That would be fantastic if it were to figure out. Now, it was inflatable, right? It wasn't.
It was. I did not go inspect it myself fully, but I walked past it. Obviously,
you didn't take a swim.
I did not take a swim, but it appeared inflatable and appeared, like something from Walmart.
I would love to see not only just the splash. I feel like a bunch of major league parks have these. The Braves have a fountain or a lake kind of, and there's other people. If you hit it in there, there's a big splash. But something like that Walmart inflatable pool with a baseball coming off the bat, 100 miles an hour, it might pop, and which would be really fun to see happen. So yeah, I'm for it. Let's have we got to think of a nice name for it. The party in the pool out there, but I'm all for the pool returning. Now, it probably won't return until we hit SEC play because those February games get cold.
Here's the thing. I have an idea though. If people do these things in winter, the polar plunges. What if some, I don't know, fraternity or something makes like a pledge or something? If they'll come to the games, and if a home run's hit in there, they will take the polar plunge in the pool in February when the games start.
They just have to sit by it, and if it lands in there,
that's what I'm saying. It has to be like literally the pledge plunge. So all the young, there you go. The pledges have to like. I think this is a great idea. So if there's a fraternity out there that wants to jump on this and make this a thing, I don't know, you can probably find a way to donate some money for every time you take the polar plunge, so to speak. The reality is, well, this year the reality was a lot higher with the rate the balls were flying from the park, minus these last 2 games for Auburn at least. Let's not talk about that. But it would happen not so frequently. So maybe like once or twice a year you'd have this happen. I think it'd be a really cool thing. Just kind of wrapping up about this. It is sad that what has carried us all year, the offense couldn't find its legs in these final 2 games. I thought the pitching, while not great, was not as bad as it had been in some other games. I think had the offense showed up like we expected to, maybe we still don't win, but we at least get to Sunday, and maybe we could even force some Monday things. So it was just kind of one of those things where a lot of crazy things happened toward the end of the season, a lot of good things for Auburn to get them to where they were. But Auburn was the talk of college baseball for quite some time. And even if it doesn't end the way we want it to, you should have your respect continually increased for what Butch Thompson, his coaches, the staff, the support staff, the players have done this season and have continued every year to do as a program. So
yeah,
I'm very proud of them. Let's talk about our last topic tonight. We're going to take one of the things that is kind of all encompassing. So it's going to be about Auburn football, but more so about SEC football and some of the conversations that have been happening the past week. And if you ask Kirby Smart, we're talking about it too much. Of course, Kirby can say what he wants these days, I guess, when you win 2 national titles in a row. Pains me to say that, but it's the reality in the world. It's the world we live in, folks. SEC meetings happened down in Pensacola, I believe is what it was, but down at the beach somewhere, as they tend to do as soon as spring semester starts to wrap up. I kind of think of it as the precursor to the SEC media days, kind of getting those things warmed up.
Yep.
But the big thing was trying to get around this topic of what is going to be the SEC football schedule when Oklahoma and Texas arrive. Originally, that was slated to be 2025. It has now moved up to 2024. So, folks, if you like the way things are done, enjoy this season because it will start not so much major changes next year. But this season is the last of what you currently know as the SEC divisions and things like that. Starting in 2024, Texas and Oklahoma in the mix. We will still play 8 SEC games. You will have some, is what I interpret out of that, not all, but traditional rivalries protected within a rotating random draw of who you will be playing in those 8 SEC games. So no more of every single year, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, LSU, Alabama, and Georgia, those guaranteed. It'll be a little bit different. We think Alabama will, well, we know Alabama, that the Iron Bowl will be preserved, but maybe some others are at risk here. Your initial thoughts, sir? What do you think about this breaking news out of the SEC meetings?
Yeah, a lot of people are upset about why is the SEC not going in 9 games? All the other conferences are going in 9 games.
Because we don't need to. It just means more.
I wanted to go to 9 games just because I think the way I want to preserve some of the scheduling a little better. I think that's how the best do it.
Yeah.
However, as you said, and as Commissioner Greg Sankey said, last I checked, his quote, not mine. Last I checked, national championship game was 65-7. I think the SEC's doing okay without going to 9 conference games.
Right.
And everybody's saying, well, you don't need to play New Mexico Girls College on the second to last weekend of the year. Well, we are, and we can. So, I understand both sides.
I don't know that that's actually on the schedule, but I'll go check.
No, yeah, probably not. I understand both sides of it and maybe why people want to play more games, why people don't. But at the end of the day, that's what they've chosen not to do for now. It is temporarily, the 2024 season will still be 8 games. And I think that's probably what they did for that reason, is just a stopgap of, we can't hash all this out right now.
Right.
Let's give ourselves another year. Texas and Oklahoma, I'm assuming we're not at these meetings. That wouldn't make any sense to me. And so let's get them in here and kind of all talk about this together. But 8, I'm still okay with 8 games. It sounds like it's still a requirement. You play a Power 5 team. I'm happy with out-of-conference Power 5 team. I'm happy with that. I hope that stays. I like a lot of the ones Auburn has coming up, first and foremost.
Yes. Yeah.
Baylor and Miami and Wisconsin, I think.
Is Wisconsin on the list? I know UCLA is, but
UCLA, maybe. I think you and I have just talked about Wisconsin.
I would like a Wisconsin matchup.
I'm not sure that's been on the list, but I like a lot of the ones Auburn has, so I hope those stay. And I just like that, we've talked about how much we love the Penn State thing, and I think that's been good for college football.
Yep.
So I'm okay with 8 conference games for now, and I think that's wise to just figure out it as we get going. I do think it's very interesting, and it seems like the rest of the conferences are kind of going this way of no divisions. Just take the top 2 teams. Part of me doesn't like that. I think I'm really used to the East-West thing. Texas and Oklahoma joining the league doesn't bother, it doesn't change my perception of the SEC so much, because it's been over 10 years, but A&M and Missouri joined, and I feel like that was the first step of getting used to realignment for me. The divisions thing is going to be weird, to not have an East-West. I don't think I'll ever not think of Arkansas as a West team, or Florida as an East team. That'd be really hard to get out of my line of thinking. But all in all, I don't think a whole lot of information came out of these SEC meetings that we all weren't really shocked about. Besides just deciding, okay, we're going to delay this basically a year.
Well, and I wouldn't even say it's a delay. Oh, let me just say this. Does the SEC do everything right? No. Does the SEC officiating do everything right? Heck no. Does every decision they make, I agree with? No. But what I have liked, and I'm going to bring up a not so fun topic, but COVID. Greg Sankey and the staff there made a very wise choice to not overreact. and were criticized for that, to not shut things down.
Yeah.
And said, let's kind of bide our time and make what we can work for now and see what happens in X amount of days, weeks, months, whatever. And that ended up being the smart decision. And everybody else had to adjust the SEC because we were playing ball. Nobody else was ready to, basically.
Yeah.
Same thing could be said here. While it is kind of frustrating to be like, that's what you came up with, we're just going to just still play 8 games, nothing else. At the same time, I kind of appreciate that. This is about to change the landscape of the SEC even more than Missouri and Texas A&M did.
Way bigger, yeah.
Way bigger implicate. And no offense to Texas A&M and Missouri, glad to have you. Still understand why Missouri's here, but hey, we'll take you. What's one more Tiger, right? At this point. But this is going to have so many ramifications. On top of that, Sankey is looking out there and seeing what's happening with supposed changes and further additions probably going to be made by the Big Ten in terms of becoming an bi-coastal. I don't know if that's the word, or intercoastal. What's the word? All of those things, having from sea to shining sea teams everywhere. They may have to make more adjustments on top of that. So why would you rush into something when there's no settled changes yet? To me, I thought this was I would have liked to have had more to it, but I understand why this is an interim decision for the time being. Now, to bring it to Auburn and how it affects us with this SEC scheduling, staying at 8 games, preserving the traditional rivalries. Now, that's the key. That's the key phrase here. We all know the Iron Bowl is safe. It's the greatest rivalry in college sports. It's the greatest rivalry in sports. I will make that argument, and I probably will have a few other people disagree with that, but I'll say it here on an Auburn show. The Georgia rivalry, the LSU rivalry may be in jeopardy in terms of an annual matchup. Your thoughts on that, if that becomes a reality?
Yeah, I mentioned I like 9 games more because of the scheduling. Yeah. I think the 3 permanent and the 6 rotating, so you get all the teams, makes the most sense to me, just because I want to see all the teams. I want to see all the stadiums. I think a kid in the conference playing football should get to go to and have a team come to him during his collegiate career. That just doesn't make sense to me how we got away from that, and we're playing Florida every 15 years in the swamp. So I think that is what makes sense to me for that. However, it sounds like the best thing for 8, or not the best thing, the way they want to pitch it for 8 is you keep 1 and the other 7 rotate, and that's how you get everybody in. I still like that you get everybody, but there's some big time rivalries, quote unquote, or historic games that are matchups that we will not get every year. Auburn, Georgia is the Deep South's oldest rivalry. To not play that game every year, I know some people are like, oh, that's fine. I'll let Georgia go for a year, every other year. That's an automatic L. Okay, this is way bigger than what is currently happening at Georgia. To let that game go doesn't make any sense to me. So I hope that's not the case. I'll even go as far to say that with Alabama, Tennessee as well. That's a very historic rivalry that a lot of people feel strongly about. Oh,
it's a rivalry again now that they've won one?
Yeah. Yeah. Where were you the last time Alabama beat Tennessee?
I can't remember.
I can't either. 2 years ago, I don't have a clue. The other ones that, it hurts me to think about Auburn and LSU not playing. Like, that's crazy. But then you think about, well, when Auburn and LSU might not play, Auburn gets to play Florida again.
Yeah.
Remember those from, those come back. So those are all kind of interwoven for me, outside of Alabama and Georgia. But there's pros and cons to it. And the biggest thing is that not everybody is going to be happy. It doesn't matter what they decide.
Right.
Vanderbilt is going to get absolutely pummeled. It's just going to happen. They're going to have to play Alabama every other year. They're going to have to play Georgia every other year. Everybody's going to be starting to pitch their forks in. Our traditional rivalry is with Vanderbilt. And and I don't know I guess Tennessee is going to get that. I don't know how that's going to work, but so I don't know. There's pros and cons to it. Personally, I would love it if we can just play all the teams. That's all I've ever wanted from the SEC scheduling is let us play all the teams more frequently.
Yes. And it sounds like that's where we're heading.
Yeah.
So if we could kind of, what I hear you saying, and I agree with you too, is that, yes, Alabama's safe. Auburn and the Iron Bowl is safe. Georgia, to me, I wonder, would there have been a different situation had there not been the Florida and Georgia rivalry, the Auburn and Georgia rivalry?
Yeah.
There's a couple of teams, and we'll throw Alabama, Tennessee. There's a couple of marquee teams with double rivalries that kind of throw a wrench in this. And so I think that's probably why you saw the hesitation there. If we have to give up LSU, I won't say I'm fine with it, but if it gets me Florida more frequently, good. If it gets me Tennessee more frequently, good.
Yeah,
I will
that's
take
another
that.
good one. Yeah, and it's not even really giving up, right? It's just you have an off year. And I think that's what people are kind of confused by is like, oh, we're not going to play LSU. No, you will. It'll just be in the even years or in the odd years, and then the other years you get Tennessee, like you said, or Florida, or someone you don't normally get to play, which I think would take some getting used to. But to me, it's not that big a deal. Like LSU and Florida, those are both Auburn rivals, be rivals just because, we don't have as much of a want to beat them as Alabama or Georgia. But so I don't see it as that big of a deal of losing the LSU rivalry.
Yeah. Hey, and we got the streak broken in Baton Rouge from a former head coach. So, look, if we want to end on that, I'm good. Let's just
that's right.
We just want to suddenly end it there. Well, I guess technically we've got to go there this year and maintain that, make it a streak. But either way, you get my point. SEC scheduling, it's not finalized. This is just a placeholder until we get to 2025. But at least we know where we're heading for the immediacy, and with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma and who knows what else is coming down the pipe, at least know for the time being where we're heading in the most recent seasons that are going to be coming up here.
Can I bring up one more small thing about SEC meetings?
I'll allow it.
Just to get your very quick take on it. The change of the fines of storming the field. You will no longer pay the SEC office. You will pay the team you just stormed the field on.
If money was an issue,
right?
I don't think money's the issue.
Personally, I see why they're doing that.
Yes.
I see why they're saying like, "Oh, this will be a detriment." But what a flex!
I mean, no. Listen, when I say that, I'm not saying like, okay, well, that's an interesting twist on this, and it makes it for some people for the when you sit back after the ramifications of rushing the field, you're like, oh crap, we just paid
gave them
money, but God, we got that win anyway. So it's just like it doesn't do anything to solve the biggest problem of it. Like to me, it makes it scarier. But if people want to rush the field, you try stopping 87,000 people onto the field. Just
nobody's thinking on the last weekend in November about, oh man, the athletic department's gonna have to pay them if I do this. No, I'm going.
Oh, here we go anyway.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's not my money.
I mean, hey, listen, like you said, weird flex, but it's probably a good flex. We'll find out if it makes a difference.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, we'll see if it works. All right, folks, that's going to do it for episode 38, the Daniel Carlson episode, and we appreciate you joining us, hanging out with us, being part of this little family within the Auburn family. On your way out, if you want to find me on social media, at Kyle Loomis 24 on Twitter, where you can find me. Where can they find you, Austin?
At Austin G. Scott, Twitter, Instagram, all the things is where you can find me. And episode 39 next week, I'm going to need some help probably. So come at me with them if you got them.
Good luck with that one. Help him out on social media, folks. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right. That's it. Thanks so much, Austin,
Good one.
For hanging out with us.
Devin, if Auburn students storm Pat Dye Field, they don't have to pay themselves. The university now, instead of paying the Southeastern Conference office for rushing the field, if Auburn wins the Iron Bowl and the fans storm the field, Auburn athletic department now must pay that $100,000 to the University of Alabama's athletic department.
I think it would be less like if we were storming Bryant-Denny, we're like, well, I mean, we're damaging their field anyway, so we might as well pay them for, storming their field, but that's not going to obviously going to happen. You're not going to do that.
That'd be quite interesting. I will. The thing I've always thought about of if that hypothetical would happen is a David Housel story of when his time during being an athletic director, when Georgia fans they beat Auburn in Auburn, stormed the field, and at that time they had. You can still see them in the stadium. They had those big sprinklers, and he said, "Oh, just turn them on. We got to water the field. Well, if they're still out there, that's their problem." So,
that was the original storming the field flex.
That's right. I'm still okay with that.
Hey, listen, if you're trespassing, and there are much worse. And listen, I trespassed. I've got, where are they at now? They're over here. I've got 2 separate leaves from the bush that are drying every year and getting worse and worse. Yeah, I trespass, but like if I get a hose like turned on me, I'm going to rethink at least getting off there quick. So
that's true.
I'm all about that. If that's
probably shouldn't do it to our own people, but if there were to ever be some opposing fans to try and go for it,
yeah, I could think of a few. I'd prefer washing off the stench off of them, but yeah,
that's right. All right, folks.
Thanks for hanging out with us, sir.
War Eagle, everybody.
War Eagle, Austin. All right, just me and you. I say me and you, the folks out there. Stick around. We'll hang out for a few minutes here. This shifts into a kind of like a mini Wednesday night, just talking, hanging out. So we can talk about some of the things we discussed during the show. Anything that we haven't hit that you like? I do see a couple of questions. At least one I see that's a good topic point. We'll hit in just a second. But let me do this part of the show. This feels like an appropriate time to do it while you guys get geared up for any other comments and questions you want us to address. Keep in mind, we are now, even though track and field is still going on, basically out of the busy season of sports for Auburn. Our schedule for the rest of the time until things start coming will be, the only scheduled live streams will be Sunday nights, like 9, what we're doing right now. And also Auburn Family nights on Wednesdays at 8 Eastern time. Do not miss it. This is the one thing I'd love for you guys to do, is to invite a friend. Let's continue to grow that Wednesday night show and have fun with it. And I would love to see us continue to grow the numbers there. So join us 8 p.m. on Wednesday night for another Auburn Family live stream. Check out those links in the description. You can become a channel subscriber. When we hit 4,000, we're giving away that football prize package we've been talking about for a long time. So help us get there if you can. Invite a friend. Channel members, you can do, thank you guys who do that. You can be a channel member for $1, hitting the join button down below. If you want to take it a step further, you can start at $1 at the Booster Club level and get yourself some perks there and some other things. Booster Club members, if you're watching, I see a few of you are, we're going to do our little meeting that we did. So I'll be contacting you all in the app soon, where we kind of have like almost an investors meeting of sort, where you get to talk to me and about what we do here and what you want to see and all that kind of stuff. So be looking for that. All those links in the description are ways that you can help keep us going here at E2C Network, and help us out if you can. But we just appreciate you helping us by being here and being part of our family. All right, let me hit this question to start off with. I like this question. We'll hit some of the other ones in a second. Who do you think the players will be that represent Auburn at SEC Media Days? Great question. In fact, Thomas, this is like, I try to remember these things. This would make like a great singular video, so I may do that. But just to answer your question, now, I could see Nehemiah Pritchett as one of our stalwarts of our defense. Been here a while, been doing, coming back for a 5th year. I could see him being a representative of the defense. And when I think about this question, I think about, traditionally, you're going to try to send an offense, a defense, and if it's appropriate, a special teams. It's like Anders 2 seasons ago was a senior year. It made sense to send him. I think Oscar's only a June. No, maybe he's a senior now. So maybe you see Oscar Chapman go. That wouldn't surprise me. But Nehemiah Pritchett, I feel like, is a given. On offense, maybe a Jeremiah Wright, your one of your main offensive linemen that are going to stay over. That might be a good one. Javaris Johnson, wide receiver, been here for a minute. Luke Deal is probably going to be your your offensive representative. So you know what? I'll throw down a prediction right now, but we might do a video separately of that. Luke Deal, Nehemiah Pritchett, Oscar Chapman. Bam. Just throwing it out there. The image, yeah, that it was technically a Springer thing. Yeah, that's a little bit tricky waters there, but we're keeping it in the context of the football game. No Bucky segment this week. We tend to work it in somehow, doesn't it seem like? But yeah. Kyle, are you most excited for the upcoming football or basketball season? Oh, that's a no-brainer, Devin. Look, as much as I preach here about loving the full Auburn experience, I'm not going to sit here and act like that football isn't what, drives my gears, essentially. Like, it is the lifeblood of Auburn. And so here's let me get on my soapbox for a second. There are people who all they are is Auburn football, and they too annoyingly dismiss, even outside of sports, the other aspects of being part of Auburn. And you're just annoying. You're wrong if you're doing that. But there's also those that get on their high horses about like football and annoyingly complain about football getting all the attention, basketball getting all the attention and stuff like that. And you become just as annoying on the opposite side of that. Don't be that way. Just enjoy being a member of the Auburn family. Enjoy taking in the full Auburn experience. And we're not going to ignore that football is king. Basketball, to some respect now, has become that way too. But sorry, that's my soapbox for tonight. Ooh, Steiner would be a good pickup or a good representative. Yes, I think that's a good one too. But football, I love basketball. I think I've said this 1,000 times. That is my personal sport. My mind works a certain way that is just made to play basketball. I'm not saying like I'm the best basketball player out there, but my mind works the way basketball is played, that type of chess. But I love the pageantry, the togetherness of football. Let's see here. What else? Football and basketball are the breadwinners for the athletic department. They make it possible for the other sports to exist. Good point. Yeah, and I think that's the big thing there is, people forget that you need those to do well for other aspects to benefit as well. And that is what right here. This is exactly what we're all about here. We want you to be a well-rounded fan. So you're just not popping in and being like, what's the latest recruit? Look, I know some of y'all, that's all you care about. I'm not trying to be rude, but that's like, I see those comments sometimes. I'm like, that's clearly all you care about. All right, now I'm getting on my high horse about things, so I just need to be quiet. I'm digging myself a hole I can't get out of later. All right, any other big comments and questions? Let me roll back through and see you guys were talking about storming the field when we were discussing that. Trade LSU for Florida. It's not that I want to trade, and I think Austin said that too. I just want to see Florida more. I just want to see Tennessee more. I'd like to see South Carolina more because typically they're an easier matchup. Typically. I'd like to see Missouri more. I would like a little variety. I liked seeing Ole Miss and Mississippi State and all them a lot, but I could have done with a little less of them. Just to be quite honest, we saw way too much red everywhere we went. Between Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. I am done with the color red. I need a different. I need the full variety of colors in the palette out there. So that would be a good thing for me just from that aspect alone. The Auburn Florida games were epic before they were broken up. Yes, they were. That the biggest travesty of the expansion, other than Texas A&M and Texas losing their rivalry game, but that's because they chose to leave the conference. So it's not really our fault. That's the biggest loss of the whole initial expansion with Missouri and Texas A&M. Austin's comment about Jabba spot on. Never heard that until I got involved in Auburn social media and agree it's really stupid. Yeah, what you'll find on Auburn social media is everybody using, and listen, I'm susceptible to this too, but using these catchphrases and lines of thinkings and groupthink so that you can get clicks and likes and stuff like that. And this is someone that needs those for a business to be successful. So I'm not saying that like that's inherently a bad thing, but when you put on a persona that's not you, the way you act when you're not on the social media, that to me is just, yeah, that whole Jabba stuff was just, it's just icky to me. Maybe it's just me. Let's see. I want to go back and scroll back, make sure we didn't miss anything during the show. We will have a video coming out most likely tomorrow about, well, definitely it won't be tonight, but tomorrow about the new commitment. So be looking for that. Pac-12 dropped their divisions last year. They had to go to 4 tiebreakers to get the top 2 teams for their championship. It was dumb. Yeah, there's going to be some of that. And don't think that's not going to happen this year. I think there is a world where you can have some form of divisions, pods, whatever, and it work. I do think that, unfortunately, though, you're going to see the top 2 teams, regardless of those divisions, go. But I don't know why you would have that then. But there's been too many times that the best 2 teams were in the West and one was left out. I don't necessarily think like that, but I understand people thinking that, frankly. I will be fine with the Mississippi schools, losing the Mississippi schools. It doesn't seem like the biggest loss, does it? Other than, if, may rest in peace, Mike Leach was still here. Gosh, that was still such a loss and travesty. And I mean, we're not even like to the football season yet, and that's going to all come back around again during that time. And seeing Lane, I will say the characters seem to be a lot more fun on this side of this division as it currently stands. So enjoy it this year. Why would you like to disparage your own team? Like talking about the Java comments. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants the clicks and the likes. That's what it's about. Football roster finally finalized. More Yahtzees to come after this one. Depending on who you look at, it seems like that's the last roster spot. What I could gather via media, so I always talk about that I'm not a big fan of message boards, but I do check 1 or 2 that I have access to that just to kind of stay up on what's happening. It seems like there were 2 people, one did not make it to campus, or 2 that were in trouble of not making it, that had committed to Auburn and signed, and one seems more likely than the other, so that spot has been filled. So I guess if that other individual doesn't get it figured out, then maybe you could see another one, but I heard it and saw it described as a commitment of availability more than necessity. As I told you guys, and why we've kind of already wrapped up that part, that like did a wrap up show about that, the needs have been met. We didn't necessarily have to have a DB, but why not take them? Oh, hey, Ladarius. Ladarius is our, now you got to stop dropping the RTRs if you can come in here. We might have to ban you if you do that. I'm messed. I'm half serious, but also serious at the same time. You take your pick which one it actually is. But welcome. Thanks for being here. We're about wrapping up here, but anytime you want to stop in, please do. We'd call in on Wednesday nights too. We'd love to get some other perspectives of some fans too. Elliot, we've been talking about it a little bit. I don't know if you just got here. The 3-game schedule, or the 8, I think the 9-game schedule, the 8. I would prefer the 9, but I understand why the 8. I'm going to clip that segment of the show, probably post it on Tuesday. So if you I want you to go back and watch the whole show if you can, please. So don't hear me saying that we got good stuff throughout the show, but I will post that segment as a separate thing later. Excited to see Auburn play in Texas and Oklahoma. It'll be a nice freshness to conference play. It will. It just makes it harder for me to go to every SEC conference to see Auburn play now, though. lot further. Now they're going to start flying now. Impressive and exciting roster building. I agree. Let's see. How insane is it going to be to see TAMU, Texas A&M, and Texas play again? I'm excited for that. That is, I don't really have a feeling one way or the other on Texas or Oklahoma joining. I mean, I'm probably more on the side of favorable of it because of things like that rivalry is coming back to us, the SEC. That's going to be really good. Pods, but if you mean pods or East and West, I've done a video previously. If you can go like type in on our channel and just type up, I kind of talked about this. There's an intriguing aspect of doing pods, but I still think the divisions could work if you treat it as Auburn and Alabama come over to the East and you treat that as the traditional Southeast and make everybody else the Southwest Conference. I think we're heading to super conferences, to be honest with you. Think about it. Has Auburn played Texas in football? I think this is right. 1983 feels right. I think that's correct. Oh, you're not bothering us, Ladarius. Thank you for being a fun-loving fan. We're not opposed to having a opposition here, as long as you behave yourself. Let's see here. Might be going to the Texas A&M game. My husband casually suggested it. I almost went to Kyle Field. It's my field after all. Yeah. I would love to go see a game there. I'm glad I didn't go I'm glad I didn't go because of the heat that was at that game, but that was a really good result for Auburn. So it would have been a fun game to be at, though. 1990 or 91 against Texas. I thought it was the 80s. You sure? I thought it was 83 sounded. It wouldn't be 83, but I thought it was the 80s. I'm probably wrong, but that's what I felt like it was. All right. Final comments and questions. We're at the hour mark right now. Get them in. And of course, please smash the like button if you haven't. Tell a friend. I can take one more comment or question to end the show. Really good active crowd right here. First meeting with Texas in 1910. Only met 8 times. Glad we will get to play them more. Yeah, that'll be fun. Yep. So it's the Oklahoma Texas edition is going to bring more good than bad, but it is going to make things really hectic and confusing. But once it's settled, I think we're going to be in for some fun stuff. Here's my last thought I'll give to you. If you have the time to, because we'd like to talk about things within the whole Auburn experience, but we'll expand that to the whole of SEC and just college sports. Go look at how many, like last season especially, team and individual national titles Oklahoma and Texas won alone. If my math is correct and my memory is correct, they won more, those 2 teams, than all the other teams put together and individual titles that were available to win. That's how dominant both of these schools are in athletics. SEC, it's about to mean a lot more. All right, guys, thank y'all so much for being here. Hope to see you Wednesday night. Stay tuned on the channel for videos coming up this week, but we'll be live again at 8 p.m. That's our next scheduled live stream. Stay subscribed, though, because you never know what might come up and what we might get into. And I appreciate you guys being here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Till I talk to you again, War Eagle.